Hello, everyone. This is Venus Brown. I am back to finish up the live stream I started earlier today. Unfortunately, I was planning on going to the movies with my kid, and I thought I would get done before then, and I did not. So I have a couple pages left to finish, and then I wanted to talk about the TV series. So, so I guess I will go ahead and get started. I'm sorry that I did not finish the first time, and the title might be a little deceptive because it was the same title and information for the live stream I did this morning, but I've already read chapter 44 and 45 and part of 46. I just have 2 pages left. And then I still plan on talking a little bit about the TV series that just ended not too long ago, which I am doing reactions to. I do not have the finale done yet. My reaction for the finale, I had to make some edits that are taking, or I had to fix some things that are taking a very long time to fix before I even start my cutting up and editing process. So it's just taking a while. Anyway, let's go ahead and get this started. So we're on, let me see, what was it called? We're on part 17 called Perfect Teeth. And I believe that the dentist, Becca's dad, has already been persecuted in the story. And Aunt Lydia is talking about like how they went about doing it and the parts that I think it was Aunt Elizabeth played in the whole thing. And Aunt Elizabeth basically did the same thing. This is a spoiler from the TV show. Did the same thing that Daisy did with the dentist. So on the TV show, they basically gave Aunt Elizabeth's part to Daisy. So instead of Aunt Elizabeth faking being attacked, they had it be Daisy faking that she was attacked. I think Daisy seriously thought she was going to be assaulted, and when it didn't happen, she didn't know what to do. So she tried to figure something out quickly. There were people that were complaining that, oh, she could have waited, she could have planned this out better, she could have waited until Hulda or Agnes went back to the dentist. And I'm just like, she's caught in a situation she didn't think she was going to be in, and she's desperate. She wants to do something to protect these girls. I doubt that she's thinking about something like that, but even if she did, I doubt that she wants to put them at risk or put more girls at risk. So she probably thought this is the best way that she can get somebody to actually listen and possibly do something about it. And I also was talking about how it's weird that when I read this, I do not remember like being upset about the aunt lying about it or anything like that. Yet when I watched it on TV and saw Becca pretending like she was being sexually assaulted, it really took me aback. I was like, I didn't really like that. And then once I realized what she was doing, I was kind of okay with it. But then I started laughing hysterically. So, yeah. You'll see that when I put up the reaction if you watch it. But anyway, let's go ahead and get busy with the remainder of this chapter. And like I said, the rest of the readings for these chapters is on the previous live stream from today for chapters 44 through 46. So if you see the label for 44 through 46, and it doesn't say part 2 on it, that was the early one. The one that says part 2 at the end of the title is this one that I did later because I had to leave. I didn't have to, but I wanted to leave so I could go and watch The Back Rooms, which is a very odd movie, but I'm not going to go further into it because if somebody does want to watch it, the things that I would say about it would definitely spoil the movie. So not going to do that. All right, so I have my little ways and some helpful informants. I lied. She's talking to Commander Judd. 2 and 2 do sometimes add up to 4, and we women, myopic as we are, often notice the finer details that may escape the broader and loftier views of men. But Aunt Beatrice and Aunt Dove were told only that they should be on the watch for a specific tattoo that the poor child had inflicted upon herself, and luckily they found her. So she's obviously talking to Judd about how she found baby Nicole. Baby Nicole is there now as a Pearl girl. She has not pointed her out or anything. She's just notified him that she is there, that they were able to find her, and this is how she said that she was able to find her. That they've been looking, and they just are better with the details, the finer complexities than some men are when they're looking for stuff. Because he's like, I've been looking all this time. Anyway, a self-inflicted tattoo? Depraved like all those girls. On what part of her body? He asked with interest. Only the arm. Her face is unmarked. Her arms will be covered in any public presentation, he said. She's going by the name of Jade. She may even believe that to be her real name. I did not wish to enlighten her about her true identity until I consulted with you. Oh yeah, let me put this on. I'm surprised. I'm surprised that it still has my comments from earlier, even though this is a separate stream technically. All right. All right. I did not wish to enlighten her about her true identity until I had consulted with you. Excellent decision, he said. May I inquire, what was the nature of her relationship with this young man? It would be better if she, as it were, untouched. But in her case, we would overlook the rules. She would be wasted as a handmaid. Her virginity status is as yet unconfirmed, but I believe her to be pure in that respect. I have placed her with 2 of our younger aunts, who are kind and sympathetic. She will share her hopes and fears with them, no doubt, as well as her beliefs, which I am sure can be molded to accord with ours. Again, excellent Aunt Lydia. You are indeed a gem. How soon may we reveal baby Nicole to Gilead and the world? We must first assure that she is a true believer convert, I said, firm in the faith. That will take some care and tact. These newcomers have been swept up in enthusiasm. They have such unrealistic expectations. We must bring her down to earth. We must inform her of the duties that await. It is not all hymn singing and exaltation here. In addition to that, she must be made acquainted with her own personal history. It will be a shock to her to discover that she is the well-known and well-loved baby Nicole. Well, I will leave those matters in your capable hands, he said. Are you sure you won't take a drop of rum in your coffee? It helps circulation. Maybe a teaspoon, I said. He poured. We lifted our mugs, clinked them together. May our efforts be blessed, he said, as I am convinced they will be. In the fullness of time, I said, smiling. After her exertions in the dentist office, at the trial, and at the prosecution, Aunt Elizabeth suffered a nervous collapse. I went with Aunt Vidala and Aunt Helena to visit her, where she was recuperating at one of our retreat houses. She greeted us tearfully. I don't know what's wrong with me, she said. I am drained of energy. After all you've been through, it's no wonder, said Helena. You are considered practically a saint at Ardua Hall, I said. I knew what was truly agitating her. She'd perjured herself irrevocably, which, if discovered, would signal her end. I'm so grateful to you for your guidance, Aunt Lydia, she said to me, while glancing sideways at Vidala. Now that I was her firm ally, now that she had fulfilled my unorthodox request, she must have felt that Aunt Vidala was powerless against her. I was happy to help, I said. So, yeah, if you don't understand what's going on in that part, then I would suggest that you go back and listen to previous chapters, because it's quite a bit, and I don't really feel like explaining all of it. Anyway, I mean, you could just rewatch what I just put up, I think, and it would cover most of it, but it doesn't cover the reason that Aunt Elizabeth was asked to do this unorthodox request. That would be further in. Anyway, let's go ahead and go to live scene, because I do want to talk a little bit about the TV series. So anything from here on out is going to be spoiler on the TV series, because I wanted to talk a little bit about, mostly about the penultimate and the finale episode, because, yeah, the penultimate was a lot. Like, the second half of the penultimate episode, I was just, like, so anxious and worried and scared and heartbroken for Rebecca, and like everything was going so horribly for her. So it was a lot. It was a lot to get through. I was very like sad, and just like I kept crying and getting upset. The second part, the finale, I found much more hopeful. There is definitely stuff where I was worried. I was very worried for Becca. And then when they decided what they were going to do with Becca, I was worried for other people. But overall, I felt like a lot happened in that last episode. A lot of things kind of fell into place. And it was a much more hopeful episode. Even though parts of it were definitely upsetting and worrying, when it all was said and done, I found it to be much more hopeful. The whole thing where Daisy said something about her power color being purple or whatever, and now she understands that. I think that really kind of comes into play. It started with the dentist thing, which I know was the wrong move to make, but she wasn't thinking straight when she did that. She was just trying to help these girls, and she is not properly prepared for doing stuff like that in Gilead. But she didn't want to do nothing, and she felt like everyone else was doing nothing. So that's just, even though she really messed up, even though a lot of the stuff that Daisy does reminds me of a lot of the flawed actions that June would take, the things June would do that would put other people at risk and kill other people and stuff like that. It definitely reminds me of that. But at this point, I don't care. She's a teenager. She has been put through a freaking horrible ordeal. She's in the middle of this because she wants vengeance for her parents. And now she's starting to see these people that she thought were basically a joke as like real people that she should really care about. So, and in a way, she's right. Yes, we know that Aunt Lydia was supposed to do something about the dentist at some point in time, but they had no way of knowing that. The way it all looked to them was like anything that they tried to do or that Daisy tried to do didn't seem to do anything. Like nobody was trying to help them. So it felt like the one thing that they could do to try to remedy this situation, no one was listening. No one was going to do anything. And so she felt like she had to step up because nobody else was. Anyway, all right, so let me see some of the things I was thinking about. Okay, so I called the penultimate episode Marat Sadeh, and everybody that I have heard say it has said it's Marat Sad instead of Sadeh. Which I never would have gotten that unless I like went on to one of those things online that like gives you the pronunciation of the word. I wouldn't have realized it was sod, because to me it doesn't look like that at all. Like it doesn't look like any form of that pronunciation. But how would I know? I think somebody said that it is like the root form of sadistic or something like that. So, or sadist. So I could see that. But yeah, I thought it was Sadeh. Sadeh. And instead it seems to be Sod. I still haven't looked it up to verify, because there's been various people that have said it, but also said they don't know if they're saying it right. So I'm assuming they probably are, if so many of them are saying it that way. Okay, so one of the things about the title of that episode, I shouldn't say one of the things. Like, there were things about the title of the episode that I'm like, after the episode was done, I was like, I don't know how well it fits. I think metaphorically there's a lot of ways that it fits. But literally, I was like, we're not doing a play within a play. Nobody's acting here or playing a role other than the roles that everybody in Gilead plays themselves to try to stick within Gilead's ridiculous, narrow expectations. But outside of that, I was like, I don't know. Like, it didn't seem like that. But there was a person that was assassinated, basically. There's definitely class struggle, which was one of the things that play within a play was supposed to be about. It's definitely somebody killed, assassinated. What else? Yeah, I don't remember much else. I know that the people that killed the guy were supposed to be inmates in an institution, okay? So maybe you could say there's this parallel there because Becca's not right. Something fucking split in her head, and she has, we know that she already seemed like she was traumatized. Like she needs therapy because whatever has happened in her past seems to be seriously affecting her feelings about men in general and about getting married. But the show is not going along with that storyline. The show seems to be saying, no, this is because she feels she does not fit with Gilead. That she is so different, that she doesn't fit in, she doesn't know how to fit, and that she is so averse to men because of her not fitting. Something like that, which to me, lazy, bad writing. I just don't like it. But I'm still gonna hold out hope that at some point in time they're gonna be like, no, there was traumatic shit going on that was causing her to react this way towards marriage and men and stuff like that. But so far they're not doing that. Anyway, what was I saying? But yeah, I think after she found out that her friend was being assaulted by her dad, that just, that broke something in her. Flipped a switch, whatever you want to call it. She was not mentally sound. And I still think it works so much better if she has been traumatized in the past, that knowing that somebody that she loves and cares about so much has gone through this when she's gone through it herself, when she doesn't want her friend to ever go through anything like that, that would make more sense to me than she is not straight. She loves Agnes, and because Agnes had this happen to her, she split like this. That doesn't make sense to me. But yeah, that was like the main thing, I think, was not only the class struggle between these different classes within Gilead, different types of people within Gilead. There's definitely that parallel, and the fact that this person that isn't mentally well ends up killing this guy, not because anybody told her to, but because she felt that she needed to exact justice on him, which I think may have also been part of what was going on in that play within a play. But I was listening to somebody talk about what she dug up on the name Marat Sadeh. And I didn't finish listening because I had to get off and do something else. But what she did say, that I was like, oh wow, like this really is a huge parallel, is that the guy in the play within the play was killed in a tub. He was assassinated in a tub. And that there are actual literal paintings of this event with this guy dead in the tub. And she said that when she went to look at the paintings, it was like almost exactly same freaking, like everything looked pretty much the same as in the painting. That was on the painting looked the same on the end scene after he had been killed. So I was like, well, that's pretty interesting. She said something else about, I guess, the guy that had gotten killed. She said would regularly, like, he had some kind of skin affliction, and he would regularly take baths because of the skin affliction and do some of his work in the bathtub. And I think she said there was some other parallel, but I don't remember what it was. And that's pretty much as far as I got. Okay, so that's the Marat Sadeh stuff. Or Marat Sod. Marat Sod. Anyway, so now, the end of that episode. Becca gets taken by what appear to be something like eyes, except they were all female. And they all had a mask on their face that looked like the masks that the girls in Agnes's baptism were wearing. The Greens, when they went to her baptism, they had that mask covering her face. Well, these girls were wearing a similar mask, except it was black. And so my immediate thought was that it must be like, a lot of people were saying, oh, it must be May Day. And I was like, there's no fucking way. May Day is not that fucking up on shit. They are not that ready to put a huge freaking thing like that into place that quickly. That wouldn't make any sense. No sense at all. But I thought maybe if Aunt Lydia or the aunts have some kind of elite force that does stuff to get people into the aunts' school and to try to deal with them there, that maybe it was something like that, which would kind of go along a little bit with what happened in the story, where Becca had tried to hurt herself, and they put her in their own facilities, and they said they were counseling her. And I'm saying counseling is not counseling. Counseling is like interrogation and torture and shit like that. It's Gilead tactics to try to figure out what's wrong, convert her, get her to do what you want or whatever, or pull out whatever information you can from her. But yeah, I thought it was just an elite force of women or ants or something like that that work for the ants, that would take them into the ants facility and do that stuff similar to the eyes, but I wouldn't have called them the eyes. But then the finale, they are like, no, this was the eyes. Apparently, the eyes also have a female section of eyes. So my best guess on that, because I have heard nothing like this in Handmaid's Tale, in either of the books, in the shows or whatever, until this, is that idea that Commander Judd and Lydia were talking about, of keeping the female spheres separately. Like, this is like him literally trying to explicitly make sure that the female spheres are separate. So instead of the females being captured by the eyes and being taken to a male facility or a neutral facility or something like that, they would be captured by female eyes and be put into a female eye facility. That's the only thing I can figure out. That's what I'm figuring it must be, is they're trying to really go along with that. We got to keep the female sphere separate. Anyway, let me see what else. I know I know when I listened to interviews and stuff from both the girl that plays Agnes and the girl that plays Becca, that that Becca basically, that Agnes really did think that she was being taken to a doctor. I know everybody's like, you know that Gilead's not going to send anybody to a doctor. Well, no, they don't know that. These girls have been brought up in the most protected, most sheltered parts of their society. And I guarantee they have gone to the doctor before. It may not be for that, but I'm sure they've gone to the doctor. And even though they don't do therapy and they don't do stuff like that, I do about guarantee that there are going to be some people that are considered insane, and they will go and put them in an institution or something, like what they put Becca in. So, and some people would still call that going to the doctor, getting the help that they need. But in Gilead, that help that they need isn't really going to be help they need. It's going to be like locking them up, throw away the key, and fucking keep them drugged up or whatever until they decide to kill them or something. But but I don't think Agnes is going to know all that. Agnes is not going to realize that they might actually do that. I think Agnes and all those girls have been so freaking sheltered and protected that they don't think that that stuff would happen to them. That happens to Mayday. That stuff happens to perverts. That stuff happens to people that break God's law, that kind of thing. And to her, what Becca did was not breaking God's law. To her, she was enacting justice the same way that the ants have taught them. To both Becca and Agnes, Becca was enacting justice just as the ants taught them. Which in the finale episode, that was pretty much confirmed. That's exactly what Agnes said. Like, you told us, you ants told us that we would be protected. You told us that God would protect us. You told us that our prayers would protect us. You told us that doing this was how you get not retribution. I mean, it's sort of retribution. But, like, you guys taught us this. And I wish I could remember that line she said. I can't remember, though, except for the by his hand part. Like, she basically recited what they say to these girls and have these girls recite to them when they are enacting justice on other people that they think have done something wrong. Like the guy at the beginning of the show that they said had been pleasuring himself and they chopped his hand off. So she used the aunt's words to say, you told us this. You said that this was what we were supposed to do. We were enacting justice. This is what we were required to do according to God's law. This is what you told us. And if this is wrong, then you lied to us. You led us astray, and you're the one that gave Becca the wrong impression, and it's your fault. Like, so yeah, I was very, very happy that she just kept spitting back facts at Aunt Vidala until Aunt Vidala couldn't keep up this fucking fake, like, oh yeah, we just have to pray for her, God will make everything better. And she's like, no, you can't just do that. We are God's instruments. You taught us that we are God's instruments and we have to do something. And then I think even later on in the show, Aunt Lydia says that something to that effect, or no, maybe it might have been Vidala says it to Aunt Lydia, says one of the biblical stories, basically short recites one of the biblical stories to Aunt Lydia about how we have to do God's work. We can't be like the man who denied the boat and the helicopter and whatever that God was sending to try to help us. We need to actually use what God has sent to save the situation, basically. And I'm saying it really badly, but she said it really good. So yeah, that was interesting. Okay, so I know I'm like all over the place because I do not have this planned out or anything. I did not take notes. Trying to remember. But yeah, what was it okay, so I think basically what ends up happening after they go to school and they find out that Becca's not coming back to school, and Agnes knows that it's not what they said. It's not because her dad's dead and she won't be able to attend anymore. It's that she had killed her dad, was taken by the eyes, and they are likely to never see her again. And once they got that information out into the open with the group of girls that was standing there talking about it, then Becca was like, what are we going to do about it? What are we going to do to help Becca? And as soon as that happened, Agnes, it's like this little light ignites within her, this little fire ignites in her, and she's just, okay, all right, like I'm gonna do it. And that's when she went to Vidala. That's when she started really approaching Vidala and being like, no, you can't say that prayers and we're doing the best we can is enough. We have to really try something. And Becca at the same time says that she needs to leave to let Aunt Gabbana know that she had to go but make up an excuse, and Shunammite said that she would say she had cramps. And Becca goes out to talk to Garth. And remember, the last time she had words with Garth, they were not on good terms. He seemed like he wanted to wash his hands of her. And because she basically just straight up told him that she had lied about Grove, which to me was stupid. Like, why would you even fucking do that? Like, I know he's your handler, but you can't trust him that much. But she did, and after that he was like, what the fuck are you thinking? You can't just go all rogue and do whatever the fuck you want. You have to do what you're told and all of that. So this time she stops him and asks what he is going to do, what Mayday is going to do to help Becca. And he's like, we can't do anything. He insists. We're stuck. There's nothing we can do. We're not going to be able to help. So then she's like, well, what are you going to do? And he's like, I can't do anything. And which just sent her. And she's like, fine. I guess I gotta just fucking take care of things myself. And he's like, well, what are you gonna do? And she's like, not sit on my ass doing nothing. And he's like, well, you're gonna get me, you could get me hurt, you could get all these other Mayday operatives hurt. And she's like, well, fine, be that way. Like, whatever. I can't sit and do nothing. And that, I think, was when he really was like, nope, I gotta wash my hands with you, because I think in his view, she is chaotic. We know that. She is chaotic. She causes a lot of problems. She doesn't understand how Gilead works, and she does a lot of dangerous things in Gilead that could get everyone around her killed. And he sees that, he realizes that, and he's so fed up, and he's like, you don't listen, you won't do anything you're told, and now you're threatening to quit Mayday, just go rogue, and you don't care if a bunch of people end up dead in the process. So I understand where he's coming from, thinking that he needs to wash his hands of her completely. I suspect he may have already talked to his handler before, when he was upset before, and he looked like he wanted to wash his hands of her. But this was definitely like the straw that broke the camel's back kind of shit. So, yeah. He ends up getting a hold of Mayday, tells them that this girl's a loose cannon, she's just going to get people hurt and killed, and we need to get her the fuck out of here. So, like, when she was telling him that she wanted out of there earlier, he probably could have gotten her out of there, but he didn't. Now that everything is fucking up because she is just going rogue, now he's like, okay, we're gonna get you out of here. And I commented to my husband about that it was like a day. It was a day. One fucking day. And he managed to contact Mayday, get a response back from Mayday, get a message to her, have her show up, get carted all the way to freaking the Canada-Gilead border, get ready to get on a boat and taken out of there, and then end up back in a day. In a day. He was able to do that. So then I'm like, that also means that he might have been able to do the same thing for the florist. Like, if he had really taken it seriously. He was able to contact them in a day and get that done. Granted, she didn't end up going back to Canada, but that's one of the things that really pissed me off about that whole thing, is that you had a day that you got pissed off at her, you talked to whoever you needed to with Mayday, which aren't the easiest people to be able to communicate with in Gilead. You got a response back. You got her on a freaking truck going over to Canada. I was like you could have done this before. Could have done it before. I would say you could try to do it with Becca, but she's behind bars. That's a different thing. That's more secure, more dangerous, whatever, but anyway, so I might as well continue on, since he did have her sent back to Canada, or tried to. She gets done with her ride where they're trying to truck her on over in the back of a barrel and get her out of the truck, and then she's supposed to take a boat back to Canada. And June is driving the boat. And she sees June, and she talks to June, and they're all happy to see each other. And she's like, what are you going to do about Becca? And she's like, no, we're not here to fix the Becca situation. We're here to get you out of here. You are not listening to your handler. You are not doing anything. You are not following any of the instructions you're given. You've gone rogue. You've made threats. Like, we felt the need to get you out of there. And after talking, like insisting, no, I am not going back to Canada. I need to help these girls. Somebody has to help them. Becca's going to be executed. We can't just let that happen. And June doesn't seem to be going along with it until she starts sticking up for the girls. Like, if you've met these girls, you would know that you couldn't freaking stand by and let this happen. That fucking Becca was in a bad place, but she loved Agnes so much that she was willing to do this thing for her. And when June heard the word Agnes, she just lit up. And I thought that was going to be enough. That was going to be enough to get her to be like, okay. Like, it would take some coaxing and convincing and talking it out to figure out, okay, how are you going to do this without running around like a fucking girl with your head on fire trying to freaking get other people hurt and killed, but that she would eventually let her go back. But at first, no, she still was like, no, I don't want to take another chance of getting another kid killed, whatever. And she's like, no, like, Becca's like, or not Becca, Daisy's like, no, I'm not accepting this. I am going. She's like, you might be okay with failing like this, but I am not. And it's funny because right at that moment, it's like June got really pissed off about her saying, like, you might be okay with failing like this or whatever, but I'm not. And, like, basically insulted June. And so June was getting upset about that and retaliating about that. But at the same time, like, in the same shift, she also seemed to realize that she was going to let her go. So she pulled that line, you have no idea what I've been through. Do you understand me? Like that kind of stuff. She pulls that. And then right after she says that, she says that you need to keep yourself safe. And then Becca and then Daisy's like, I don't think I can keep myself safe. And June is like, oh my God, like, you can see that June realizes that she is hearing herself come straight out of Daisy. And so she can't be mad at her because she knows that is exactly how she would have been. So yeah, she ends up going back. But this isn't all I wanted to talk about. What else? Oh yeah. Oh gosh. Okay, so this is the stuff that Becca went through, or not Becca, that Daisy went through in trying to get help and getting called out for going rogue and all that. But the stuff that Agnes, so I'll do the stuff that Agnes did. Agnes, she did that thing trying to talk to the aunts, and then she is at home and what's his face? Her fiance shows up to check and make sure that she's doing all right, since he knows that Becca is her friend, and after everything that happened, he wants to make sure she's okay. And she eventually is like, look, you say that you want to help. Are you serious? Do you really want to, are you really willing to help me? And she asks about Becca being in a facility with the eyes, and he acknowledges that. and she says that she really wants him to try to help her out. And he's like, oh, well, she broke the laws of God, so she can't do that. So I can't really do that. And he's like, and she's like, but he broke the laws of God first. And he's like, regardless, that doesn't excuse her. And so then she's like, what if she was trying to do it to protect your future wife, which was her? And I was like, this is a good way to go, except I'm not too sure about this guy. This guy might not be the best route to go, but it's worth a try. Why not? So he's like, I don't understand. What do you mean? And she's like, he did the same thing to me. Like, she didn't say it like that. She took much longer and was much more timid and proper about it. But he's like, huh? What? I don't understand. So she had to basically reiterate herself. And then you see him get very uncomfortable. And he like says something like, excuse me, or I'm sorry, or something like that. And he gets up, he walks over, like, I thought he was going to leave right then because the way he was acting. But then he stands up and he kind of straightens himself out a little bit and says that I'm so glad that you were willing to be so honest with me about this. He asks if her parents know, and she says no. And he says he is going to do whatever he can to help her. And I'm like, yeah, like a whole lot of nothing. Well, he did do way more than I thought he would, which was get her out temporarily to be with her mom with constant surveillance or whatever until she's remanded to the state. So he at least did that. But I didn't think he was going to even do that. But the way that he acted when she said what happened to her, the discomfort. Because remember, his files that they had from Mayday said that he had multiple fucking restraining orders for domestic violence, for domestic assault. And I'm betting that when he found out that this happened to her, and now he pretty much knows that, and now whatever. I think he knows that had things gone the way they were supposed to, since he had been caught, if Becca hadn't done that, like he's putting himself in the place of that dentist. Like, he's like, oh God, if that would have been me, like, this would be so awful for me. Because in Gilead, that means death. If you can get the powers that be to believe you, to take you seriously, to acknowledge what you say, once they reach that threshold where they decide that, okay, what you say is true, then that means you're dead. You're going to be assassinated. You're going to be fucking persecuted or salvaged or just hung, whatever. And I think it made him uncomfortable because it made him feel like he could be in the same situation. And I think that the real reason that he decided that he was not going to marry Agnes, that not just because some people were saying she sullied. Yes, she sullied, which is going to look bad to any commander. But I think also it made him feel like, oh, if I marry this girl and she's willing to stand up and say something, then that means she could do the same thing with me. So I don't have the same guarantee of protection. Paula's idea that he would break her down and make her like obedient to him. Like, I think he was worried that he wouldn't be able to break her down that way, and that she would open her mouth up and she would tell somebody, and that he would get in trouble. That's what I think. That's why I think he reacted the way he did. Not because he wanted to help her, not because he wanted to help Becca or his future wife's friend. I think he got uncomfortable because he felt himself in the same situation and was worried that he could get himself called out for it and could end up on the fucking chopping block. That's why I think he did that. Okay, so that's the Agnes's fiance part. And like I said, he does get her out temporarily and brings her to her mother. Says that she'll be basically brought over to the state once everything's all said and done. But what was it? What was it that happened that made her go? She goes back to the aunts. I'm trying to remember what happened to make her go back to the aunts. I've got it all jumbled up in my head. I know there's this part where Paula fucking is drunk off her ass and goes off the deep end trying to clean the blood off the floor, which they have Martha's to do that shit, and blames Agnes for everything that she's going through, and for what's his face ditching her for the wedding, for the marriage or whatever. Blames Agnes. And they get to this part where she's talking about trying to help Becca or whatever, and she's like, Becca's not going to be in any better position. Garth's never going to marry her. She's been sullied. Or even if she hasn't been sullied, she probably has. Like, basically, she's too far gone. There's no way Garth is going to help her. He would be stupid to marry her, which cues Agnes into shit. She's got to do something. But also, fucking Paula goes off on her and starts going off on her lineage. Who her biological mom is, and the fact that after she did what she did, that Gilead wanted to make her pay by chopping Agnes up in pieces and sending little bits and pieces of her to June. Like, she literally says this to Agnes. Like, what a fucked up thing to say. This woman was supposed to be some kind of mental fucking health bullshit. Like, what kind of fucking psychologist or therapist fucking, oh my god, horrible fucking person. But yeah, so that's obviously out even more that oh my gosh, which was another thing, was that Daisy had told her who she was, who her mom was. And Agnes didn't at first believe it. She didn't seem to believe it. She's like, the terrorist? And they are in that echoey chair area, or that echoey stair area when she says it. And her voice is carrying, and I'm like, oh my god, you're all being so loud. And Daisy says she's not a terrorist. Explains, that she's met her, and that Agnes is just like her, and that that she's a really good person, basically. But when she says that she thinks that her name is Hannah, that's when I think it snaps with Agnes, because she recognizes the name. She knew the name. She had written it down not that terribly long ago, 4 years ago, when that shit was going on with June. before the Boston thing, she had written it down when she first went to plum school in Colorado on that picture that she had drawn. And that picture, I am very confident that picture is of the flowers and weeds and stuff like that that were swirling around in her head from her memories of when her and her mom were taken by the fucking guardians. Or eyes, or whoever it was that took her. I think it's in there in her subconscious, but they have fucking terrorized her so much about her mother being a terrorist and her mother being dangerous that she's like blocked it out of her head. And you see, after Daisy tells her that, she goes home and she pulls out her little bag of trinkets and stuff that she's found, and she pulls that picture out and unfolds it. And it's that same picture that we saw at the end of Handmaid's Tale where she wrote Hannah on it. And then after that, she goes and talks to Aunt Lydia. Well, I think it was towards the very end, she talks to Aunt Lydia about the fact that her mother is June. And she calls her June Osborne, and she calls her a criminal. And Aunt Lydia is like, actually, I knew your mother. I knew her very well. And if there's one thing about your mother, is that she never gives up. She always keeps on trying. So yeah, that was cool. But there was one more thing. Was it? Oh, it was Daisy. Daisy goes back to the aunts. Daisy goes to the aunts. I'm trying to remember exactly what was said. Not exactly, but thereabouts. That, she basically confronts them, much like Agnes did. Ask what you're going to do to fucking help Daisy. How are you going to help Daisy? You got to help Daisy. What are you going to do to help Becca? How are you going to help Becca? You have to help Becca. And somehow the conversation comes to mothers. And she's like, one thing that I have noticed is that mothers will do anything. Some mothers will do anything for their children. Okay, and I think she was going off of what she had just experienced with June and almost getting sent back to Canada. And June being willing to do almost anything to help her daughter. But she's also using it to get through to these aunts that some mothers will do almost anything to protect their daughters. And in this case, we're talking about Becca. That Becca's mother might be one of those mothers that will do anything to protect her daughter. And if it goes by the book, like, it wouldn't have been, like, I doubt that she would have helped. But it's not going by the book. Her family in the book is very different from her family on the TV show. So the next thing you know, the aunts are at the table with Becca, with Becca's mom, and they're going over what Becca is going to need to say when she's interrogated. And they're like, you just have to tell the truth. And the mom is like, oh my God, like, the truth is really going to help. That's just going to fucking send her to the execution chamber or whatever. And then Lydia starts telling a story about you heard a noise, you went upstairs, you found your dad in the tub all bloody, like, and she's like, what are you talking about? That never happened. And then Vidala chimes in, you saw that your mother had killed your father and you realized what had happened, and that's how you got blood all over you. And she's like, but that never happened. And then her mom leans over and says, but that's what should have happened. And when she said that, like, there's something about her saying that that still makes me want to really cling to this idea that there has to be trauma there and that the mom has to know something about it. Because that's what should have happened. I don't think is going to come from a mom who thinks, oh, these girls were making shit up, or this girl was making shit up, that this didn't really happen. I'd be willing to bet she's heard the rumors from other people. But has something happened with Becca? Is she aware that something might have been going on with Becca? Is she aware that that's why Becca is so traumatized and sensitive about certain things? That to me would be the only thing that really makes sense as to why she said that's what should have happened. That she is openly acknowledging that she should have killed her husband to protect her child. Because that's what it sounded like to me. It didn't sound like I should have killed my husband because something happened with these other girls, or we think that something might have happened with these other girls. Could be, but she was like going along with the, oh, let's act like everything's normal or whatever. So I don't know. I really feel like it could be she feels like she has to protect her daughter because if he is screwing around with other girls and she's heard rumors about it, or she thinks that this latest rumor might not be so far from the truth, that's how she should protect her daughter, because if he's doing it with other girls, he might do it with her. But I don't know, it seems more feasible to me that she would have had that reaction if she thought that he might have been doing something with her. I heard a chime, but I don't see anything. Let me go and check. Let me check on here and see. It's not even let me go. See if anybody has said anything. Where's the thing for me to look at my chats? This is weird. Oh, this is the wrong one. Okay, hold on. I have to refresh this. Okay, now I don't see anything. So I thought maybe I had gotten a message, but I don't see anything. I know, I've been on here for a while. It's like an hour of me talking, like a little bit of me doing the 2 pages I read, and then the rest of me talking. I had a lot to say, and I said some of it in my reaction, but I'm not done editing my reaction. It's taking me much longer than I had hoped. And even after my reaction, I have just there's so much that I wanted to talk about that I didn't really do during my reaction. So I was like, okay, I'll get it out now. Because I do that sometimes. I try not to do it often, but every once in a while I'll do extra little things concerning the TV show. But yeah. That part, and then later on, oh my gosh, this was the other Daisy, or not the other Daisy, this was the other Agnes thing. After fucking Paula pulled that shit with saying that Garth probably ain't gonna fucking marry Becca, she goes to the barracks where Garth is staying, which is risky as fuck, but she does. She manages to talk to him. He asks her if she's crazy, freaking doing that. And she insists that he needs to marry Becca. Fucking sack up, be a man, and marry this girl, because she does not deserve to have her reputation completely destroyed because of what happened. She didn't say this, but my thought is she needs help. the kind of help that Gilead ain't gonna get her, but that he might be able to fucking get her. But she doesn't deserve to be fucking executed for this. She was doing exactly what she thought she was supposed to do. So, yeah. And at first he's like, what are people going to think of me? And she's like, what are you going to think of yourself? Like, this shouldn't be about what other people think about you. You have the ability to save Becca. And of all persons, you've got to know that I don't want to be fucking talking to you, asking you to marry somebody else. It fucking hurts. But it would hurt more for me to let my friend fucking be executed or let my friend's reputation be completely destroyed because you won't sack up and fucking do the right thing in this situation. And Gilead is the only situation that I would say this would have been the right thing. But yeah, so he decides to go ahead and go along with it. They do Becca's marriage, and Becca is shot up with fucking something, some sort of sedative, I think, to get her to walk down the aisle. And they said in the books, I'm pretty sure, that there were some girls that they would do that. They would intentionally inject them with something just to get them down the aisle, because they knew that they weren't going to do it otherwise. Yeah, they inject her with something. Agnes sits with her, tries to talk her through things. They end up kissing, and it's really sweet. I think the actress that plays Becca, she said that at that point she felt like she had nothing left to lose. Like, she already was losing everything. And so she just did it because why not, I guess. And Agnes was like, she loves Becca, not in the same way, but she was like, okay, like this is my good friend who I love, who I care about, and this is what she needs right now. And so it was nothing malicious, it was nothing ill intent, nothing like that. It wasn't a show of romantic love between the two of them. It was that there is this undying love between each other. It's just different between the two of them, and that it's okay, that she is there for her as her form of support, that she will be there, that she will support her no matter what, that, what do we call it? Parents call it, good parents, unconditional love, that unconditional love. So that was cool. Now, I had talked about when I was reading the book, when I got to this part, I believe it was before this section that I read, yeah, it was, that after they got married, Garth takes her up to her room. I believe it's the room in the dentist's office, which I didn't realize at first. Like, I had seen the dentist chair when they walked in, but it didn't quite register. I registered that it was a dentist chair, but then after that, I was just concentrating on the rest of it. So I was just like, okay, they're in a house. I didn't even realize it was her house. I thought it was whatever new house that he had been assigned or whatever. Like, they already got him a house. But no, it looks like he was taking her up to a room in that house. I don't know if it's her room, but he took her up to this room, put her to bed, and then he shuts off the lights. They kind of glance at each other, and then he closes the door, and then he locks it. And I was very upset about him locking it. It just felt really off. I think I understand why. I think it's supposed to be for some sort of good reasons, especially with the mental state that she's in, but it really made me feel very uncomfortable. Like, there's so much of her autonomy being taken by locking her in a room like that. So it made me feel very uncomfortable. Oh, gosh, I think that is most of what I had to say. Let me think real quick to see if there was anything else that I wanted to talk about. Because there's always stuff. There's always stuff. Because I do a lot of like going into other chats and on Facebook. There's like fan pages, watching other people's reactions and stuff, and going through the comment sections in those. And so I'll get information about various things. Yeah, some of the things that we don't know, that we still don't know. We still don't know who Daisy's actual parents are, or why Garth really is involved in this. I know his character, I know the actor that plays him has said that once he started doing this guardian stuff with these girls, and he realized that all this shit was happening with these girls that does not happen with the guys, that the guys don't have to experience shit like that the guys are fucking educated, that the guys have at least some sense of freedom, but the girls don't have this sense of freedom. They are treated completely differently. They don't have a real education. Like, when he realized how bad it was for them, and the massive disparity between how he was treated growing up in Gilead versus how they are treated in Gilead, that is what made him feel that Gilead is wrong, that it has to be taken down. He still has respect for his father and respect for certain positions, and that's why he doesn't have a problem with trying to work his way up as a commander and stuff like that. That's why he doesn't have a problem doing certain things in the Gilead world and performing certain duties in the Gilead world, yet he still works with Mayday and wants to take Gilead down. So that's pretty much what the actor has said in a couple of interviews that I've seen with him on. So I'm going to take his word for it. I know that some of these actors, they don't get all the information until later. Daisy herself said she did not know, or the person that plays Daisy, I can't remember her name, but she said, the person that plays her said that she didn't even know that they were not going to consider Daisy baby Nicole until, like, I think she said, like, after they had given her the scripts for like episode 3 or something like that. She didn't even know that they weren't going to do that. But she said that she has studied the character in the book and that she is trying her best to present her role as being just like the character in the book. So even though she is not June's daughter, and even though she is not Agnes's biological sister, she's still trying to bring the same energy and the same kind of characteristics to her and everything, so that it's still the same kind of feel, even though the storyline has changed. Let me see. There's other stuff, like there's all kinds of theories and stuff going around about who might be Daisy's parents, who might be Garth's parents, and stuff like that. The possibility that Garth and Daisy could be like brother and sister and not know it, or something like that. Somebody brought up the idea that when the commander that tried to get Becca drunk at the end, when Aunt Lydia was looking at his folder, they actually showed his files, and it says on his files that he has 2 children that aren't there, and he has a wife. It doesn't say that they were divorced or that they're dead or anything, but that they're not there. And so that made them think that maybe Daisy is his, maybe Garth is his, maybe they're both his, who knows. I think that's a little far-fetched, but who knows? She makes a valid point that they are not likely to give us that information, what was in his files, if there's not a good reason for it. So I assume there will be some reason that we will see later on, It just hasn't come up yet because we are only on season 1. All right. I think I have said enough, though. I think I've gone on long enough, and I should probably get off here. I know I went way off into left field. This is not about Testaments, the book. This is about Testaments, the TV show. But it was just stuff that I really wanted to get off my chest and talk about. So, if you want to say anything, I am going to end the live stream, but you can still leave comments in the chats. It just won't go to the live chat. It'll go to a separate chat. And as long as I can access what is said in the chat section, I usually will respond to it. Every once in a while that stuff gets hidden. I don't know why, but there's been at least 4 times that I know that there was a comment in something and I could not get to it. Like I had to, a couple of them I had to go through a lot of shit in order to get it to actually open up the comment. It was something like turning off a bunch of filter, like not just turning off the filter that says you've already commented on it, or a filter that says you hold it, but I had to remove more filters than that in order to get them to pop up. So sometimes I don't notice. There are, for some reason, I don't know why these things don't show, because when I do click the hold thing, they don't go away. So it's not that they're being held for anything. And it's not that, according to it, it's not that I haven't commented on them. It's something else. And I don't know what, it doesn't make sense to me, but I know that there are some comments every now and then that I don't see, that I actually have to dig for. And so, like, there's been times where it was like 4 months later that I realized there was some comment there that I hadn't noticed was there, and actually tried to find it and found it that way. But most of the time, if I see it, if it comes up in my comments list, I will go ahead and say what I have to say. And even when I am going through my community section, I will turn off the thing that says the filter that says I already commented on it or whatever, because sometimes people will respond after I had commented and it won't show up if I have that filter listed, so I'll remove that, and that will help open up more that I'll be able to see. But yeah, I try to respond. It just doesn't always happen because I don't always see those comments. And sometimes it will take me a couple days before I'll get around to it. And like I said, if I don't find them, sometimes it'll take months before I get around to it. But I do try. Anyway, that's all I got for you for now. I will be back on Tuesday. I do these. Here, let me go to my ending screen. I do the Testament Live reads every Sunday and every Tuesday. Sundays usually around noon, and Tuesdays usually around 2. Today I went to go watch a movie with my kid, and I hadn't gotten finished with the reading by 2. So yeah, I had to come back and finish it up. And sometimes I have meetings and appointments and stuff, and so sometimes that schedule gets messed up. But usually I try to do them noon on Sundays, 2 on Tuesdays. Solo Leveling, I am on the last episode, I think. I have one more episode that will show on Friday. And then I'm going to be switching to Tokyo Ghoul Part 2. Excuse me. And Testament reactions, I am working on the last episode, that season finale. As soon as I get it done, I will put it up, and that will be the end of that. After Testaments is over, I'm going to be focusing on House of the Dragon. There are 2 trailers I'm going to be reacting to. So you can expect 1 week I'll put 1 trailer up, and I think there's another behind the scenes thing or something like that I'm going to add to it. I'll put that up 1 week, and then the next week there is a second trailer, a more recent trailer, and there is another behind the scenes thing. One is like behind the scenes from the TV show producers. The other is behind the scenes from somebody who actually saw somebody who lives in the area where they were shooting, and so he has some footage uh, of them actually when they were there shooting. It's not close up. It's very far off. He has to use his drone because they're not allowed to go up that close to him. But he still has imagery of it, and then he goes back after they're gone, and he talks about like where they've been shooting stuff, and gives information about the area and stuff, and it's in Wales. But anyway, so yeah, I'll do that, and then after those two things, I believe the TV show should be starting. So 1 week with the one trailer and the behind the scenes thing, 1 week with the other trailer and behind the scenes thing, and then the next week should be starting, I think. If not, then I might have a week that we skip, and then I'll be doing Tokyo Ghoul, or not Tokyo. I'll be doing House of the Dragon. It's not going to be reactions. It's going to be a kind of breakdown and discussion. I think I'm going to do a shorter edited one that is actually a video that I post in my videos, and I think I'm going to do a longer, more discussion heavy one as a live stream. So there will be one that's edited video of breakdown and reaction, and there will be another one that is longer, a little longer and more drawn out, like this is, for live stream. So that's what I'm doing. I will eventually have reactions, but it won't be then. It'll be later on down the road. I am going to be putting reactions to A Night of the Seven Kingdoms, because I already had recorded those, and I had to edit them, and I've got most of them edited. I'm working on the last couple. Once the last couple are done, I'll have all of them. So they will be put out once a week as we're going through the show. So, and I think that is it. That is what's coming in the future, and that is all I got for you for today. I'll see you when I see you. Bye.